This is the Range Podcast, where comp and total rewards leaders share what they're building with AI and how it's changing the work. In this episode, we're getting into what happens when a rewards leader starts with the problem, not the tool, and ends up with a custom AI agent his entire team uses every day. This one's for comp and total rewards leaders who are done waiting for IT to tell them it's okay to start. Welcome to another episode of the Range Podcast. Ryan is a director of total rewards and people operations at Edmentum. He's been around for 15 years across manufacturing, tech, retail, and financial services. He is known for his behavioral economics approach to reward design, and he's an AI builder who designs custom agents for his HR team with zero development training. In his own words, problem first, tool second. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am thrilled, Jack, to be joining your podcast here. All the Rangers, I'm going to coin that term, Rangers, folks that want to hop on for the ride. And I am thrilled. I am also very caffeinated. So buckle in, my friend. It's in the morning here in the U.S., and I realize you're probably on the kind of the end of your day there across the pond. But we're gonna have some fun today.
Absolutely. Now, diving deeper into your music taste, Ryan, if there was one song that really pumps you up, puts you in a good mood, I'm curious, what would that be?
So this wouldn't necessarily be something I would want as my theme song, like walking onto a stage or anything, but Walking on Sunshine, you can't help but love that song. Like you hear it, it starts with the drums, and then you can't not move to that song. Well, if you're not moving, you're either asleep or you're permanently asleep.
I'm wondering, you got 3 kids, you got a wife, you got a mother-in-law that lives with you. Where do you find, not just where do you find the time, but how did you come across AI? Like, did this journey start?
Yeah. So I am self-taught. There is no one out there that is going to equip you for all this. And I was really inspired a year ago. So I went to the World at Work conference here in the U.S. It was in Orlando, Florida, and as part of the national conference, there was a presentation done. Panel of folks using AI. What's next for AI? And one of the presenter was an HRBP from a large pharmaceutical company, and they were telling us about their GPT that they made at that time that helped them with their exercise routine. They would take pictures of their food, and then their GPT would tell them how many calories, protein, and so on, and it would log it all into a spreadsheet. And I thought, well, that's kind of a gratuitous use of AI, and honestly, how hard could it be? So I came back from that conference and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to build something, but I'm going to build something maybe not a gratuitous use. So the company I was at that time, one of the challenges we had was we didn't have job descriptions everywhere. So one of the ways that we kind of meet the business where they're at is, well, I made a GPT that in a conversational way, using words, walk leaders through how to write a job description. So I built into the back end, write a job description. It was not just enter this into the template. It was tell me about your job. One of the examples was we had a leader that had a task of 80 things. This is what it is. And I said, well, just take your list and put it into the GPT. I didn't know what would happen, frankly. But what happened surprised me is the tool took all of the items and indexed them, and then using the large language, found market benchmarks from each of these surveys, but then not just gave the leader the benchmarks. That was behind the scenes. And what the leader saw was, here is a JD that resonates back to my listed 80 things. And then here, like I walked them through, so how much discretion, how much independence is there? And the tool really amplified what the leader was doing. No one wants to write job descriptions, right? So it was, I
Yeah.
think it was spending less time at the keyboard and more time thinking about what types of jobs do I need in my team and organization. That's where I got really surprised and jazzed about what these tools can do.
And that's an excellent way to start. You looked at people were using AI, you thought there must be a more relevant way to use it in the total reward space. And job descriptions are probably a really safe place where you can start experimenting, right? Because you're not necessarily dealing with any personal and identifiable data, and you're tackling a clear need, right? No one wants to write job descriptions. I mean, there are a few people that love writing job descriptions, but they're very rare.
You, we all need to understand our lane in life, our skill set, and when I started with this, I started with what's the problem I have, and then came up with a tool to fix the problem, as opposed to thinking what can I do with AI. It's like I looked at, so what's something I could solve with AI, and at the end of the day, what was really cool about this GPT, that, again, it was so a year ago, 2025, like it amplified the manager's domain expertise. So the manager knew the specific like e-commerce roles that they have, the specific benefits or specific manufacturing roles. They know what they want them to do. How can we help them articulate it and bring it to life through using just common natural language, as opposed
Mhm.
to help them or do an interview with them and then us try and write it. Like it removes the middle person, but it directly meets folks where they're at to amplify their domain expertise.
Gotcha. And looking back, Ryan, how do you think this? I mean, you were a rewards leader a few years ago. Now you are a rewards leader that now that is also AI enabled. How does it feel like? What is it? How does it change your day to day, in the good or in the bad? Like, tell us a little bit more about how it feels to be an AI enabled leader. What it means for you.
We are living in an exciting time. I am thrilled that we have the tools today that we do. I couldn't do my current role across all the domains I'm responsible for, from comp to Ben to HRIS to HR operations, HR compliance, payroll. All that fits underneath my umbrella. I have a team, by the way. It's not just one person, but I also have my custom agent as an additional team member to help with the lift. And so I couldn't do what I do today without AI. But at the same time, it's not that I am abdicating and just trusting what the AI spits back. It is all about, trust but verify. So AI is like this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed intern. They want to do lots of things. They can, but at the same time, you also need to check the output, make sure that it's working for you. And along the way, as we think about here in the reward space, this is Aria is not a tool that's just mine. I also have it shared with the rest of my team so that we can all leverage the intern together. While we all might have the same code, each one of my team members has so Aria. Who's Aria? She is my automated rewards innovation ally. So ARIA.
Uh-huh.
I'm also a big Game of Thrones fan, and so like all this kind of just
That makes sense.
locked in for me. But everyone on my team uses this tool differently because we personalize it. So what does personalize mean? It's not saying, "Hi, I'm Ryan. I have 3 kids, and I help with Mother's Day." It gets back to thinking, what are my goals? Who do I interface with? What types of projects are ongoing? And it's kind of like a little bit of a chief of staff, also a little bit like an intern, also a little bit like an analyst to analyze files or move files around. All of us use the same set of code and skills. At this point, I think we have about 20 skills built, from making just a job description to market pricing to analyzing to moving files to creating dashboards. But what I love is that my team is also making skills too.
Yes.
For what we're talking about with skills, so we have an enterprise from that perspective. And so for folks that don't even know what a skill is, let me just kind of anchor us here just a little bit. So we have within Copilot, we have agents, and Copilot agents can do different things. You can make your own custom agent. If you have Copilot Studio, you can then even do bigger things with your agents. Then within the OpenAI or ChatGPT area, they have GPTs. So those are kind of like another agent that you can build a certain purpose. It can do different things. So that's a year ago where I was really starting to learn was with ChatGPT and building a GPT that lived with an OpenAI. But then Anthropic or Claude is another big one that's out there. And then so Claude has a number of different ways that you can work with it, but Claude also calls them agents, kind of like Copilot. And then Gemini has another version that and so I'm not going to go through all of them in the interest of time, but there are different ways that you can personalize AI to the work that you're doing in rewards. But now ask me about privacy.
What about privacy, Ryan?
I'm so glad you asked. I like to use the eyeball rule, where if you can see it with your eyeballs, so can AI. So if you're asking AI to open up a file to tell you what's in it, well, at that point, like everything that's in that file is accessible through the AI. But if you ask, for example, AI to move a bunch of files, can I show you a really dumb example? I'm going to share my screen if that's okay with one of the dumb things. All right. Look
We
out,
love
buckle in.
some action on a
Woo!
podcast about AI and Tory Wars.
All right. So this is something that I shared on stage at the World at Work conference this year, where I did live on stage, unscripted, a debate. And then the audience gave me questions to give back to my agent. And also recently I went to one of local business schools here called Carlson College in the US. And the professor there also asked a question from the final exam. I was a little bit nervous. Aria passed, but I'm going to show you one of the dumb things here. So this is a dumb thing, and we need to have it all added to one folder. Okay,
Nightmare.
so we're talking like 140 plus different files. They were all saved within different folders. On the left side, you see this black screen of death. This is my Claude
Disaster.
Code interface. Right. So I'll just say this. There's a higher learning curve when it comes to Claude Code, but the ceiling is limitless. So within Claude,
Sky's the
there's
limit.
Claude AI, which goes through your browser. You ask it a question, it gives you questions back. Then there's Claude Cowork and Desktop that is similar to Claude Code, but it can work with files on your machine, but has a nicer interface. But
Indeed.
then there is, and one of the nice things about Claude Desktop is that you can set up projects to share with your team that each of you can work within. Then there's Claude Code that you see here. Claude Code, again, a little bit of a steeper learning curve, but this is what all the developers, all the folks in IT, when you hear Claude Code and you're going to take it from my cold dead hands, this is mostly what they're using. And this is where I built Aria into here. So this is my request to Aria. This is the T up here. So for these 3 years, I need the payroll files. Then there's going to be, I want you to, they have all the same file names, but they're in folders by years. I want you to pull them all together. Oh, and by the way, we changed HRIS systems in 2025. So there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be different file names. This is what it is between the two. And so I'm not going to play the whole video here, but so on the right side, you'll see here's an example of one of the folders. Here's the pre-check detail, the payroll register, but we need to bring that into a centralized folder. So here I'll just kind of scroll through. There's all these by all these years. And then so I ask Aria to go through. And so she starts writing a script and it explores the folders and then ran into an error, then rewrote the code to find things. Okay, here's what she found initially. And she asked me, before she does anything, do you want me to go ahead and make the copy? Well, I actually have some other context for her that, hey, make sure we know which ones are off cycle versus regular. So add this in there and don't rename all the files the same. So moving right along, now she starts writing the actual Python script. I use Python every day.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, Ryan.
Yeah.
The Claude Code or Aria caught an error in the code, so it started troubleshooting on its own. How important is it for a comp person to actually understand that line of code? Like, is it something you pay attention at all, or is it?
So I pay attention to the output. Did what I asked my tool to do, did it actually happen? But I also have it check itself along the way and audit. So as we saw here, first Aria went and found, where all the files were. But then before she did anything, she came and asked me, do you want make any changes? So this is an example of not just human in the loop. So Claude Code will ask the human, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Or okay?" And most people hit the 1 button or the 2 button just to keep going through. But in this case, this is an example where it's humans deciding. So she pulled this stuff together. This is what she found. But before anything happened, I saw the initial dry run. I validated it. And then here at the end, in just 7 words here, go ahead and execute the copy. So as we see over here to the right, now this is the payoff. So I'm just going to scroll through. It's going to run the code and bam. So on the right side, you can see all of the files that were just copied over, all 140 and so on. Like this was the payoff. And ask me, how long did all this take? So even
Exactly. Right. So, because I think in many people's heads, when we talk about using AI in comp, they're thinking like these folks are building a new end-to-end compensation platform, replacing all of the vendors at once, all the pay surveys in a couple of minutes or maybe in a few days. I mean, cool if you want to run with that and try it, test it out. But really, dealing with here is a tedious, time-consuming task that you could have otherwise done in days, if not weeks, because you've changed their HRES provider. So just think about the amount of time required, not just to retrieve all the files, but then amalgamate them together, find like a consistent template to do the analysis. Whereas Arya did it in how long? How much time?
7 minutes.
7 minutes, the new record.
So, but no, this was just the version I recorded. And the version in reality, when we went through this, it was me, my payroll analyst. We had this request, I'm like, how are we going to figure this out? It took us about 20 minutes because we iterated a little bit more and there were actual files missing. So as Ari went through and checked the folders, we're missing these registers from this one, or in this cycle we had multiple final version 1, final version 2, final version 3, right? And so and in actuality, it took a little bit longer, but I'm using air quotes here. It would take in my analyst at least a day of just mindless clicking, bring it over here, right click, rename. Now, we could have maybe written a script if we were in IT, but again, we aren't techie. Like, I don't know how to write PowerShell and Python, but like
What's that?
this is the and the use case of, how can we spend less time at the keyboard doing mind-numbing things? This is an
Mm-hmm.
important ask we had to deliver, but we were using a tool to help us get there that also self-audit along the way and the file
Right.
paths, not the contents of all the private employee information in the actual payroll registers. So none of the banking information, none of the employee name, mailing address, all that. In this is an example of how we can think about using a tool like this, but also maintaining privacy. Again, going back to my eyeball rule, in this eyeball rule, all I saw were the folder paths and the file names. And so as we balance between privacy and being able to do what we need to do in an efficient way, one thing that I found super helpful is I have good relationships with my IT folks that
Mm-hmm.
I regularly check in with our friends over in info security, over in our cloud area, just so that they're aware of the kinds of stuff that we're doing. Because everybody is on a continuum right now of learning. And the goal here really is to bring friends and colleagues along for the ride as we look to use these tools. Because all of this is new, even for folks in IT. And think
Yeah.
about it from a change management lens. So I'm going to bring my behavioral psychology into here a little bit.
Love it.
And if we, think about change management, we need to bring folks along for the ride so that the change doesn't feel like it's being done to people, so that it's not
Yeah.
initiating that fight or flight response, but that we are bringing folks along for the ride. So we're amplifying what we are doing, but humans are still deciding what happens. So it's not human in the loop, but humans are deciding.
Yeah, so real. And
I
you
mean,
said that your team, it is adding on Aria, it's adding new skills, adding new features. One of the questions I have for you is like, you know how one of the key questions you get from rewards folks, okay, you introduce a new tool, but what about like who's gonna maintain it? And what does it mean to maintain it? Does it create new workload? Does it actually, is there anything there that we can say about what the implications are? We get the time savings. You've saved days on a job that you've Arya has done in 7 minutes. But what about like who's maintaining Arya?
Mhm.
If it's everyone, what are the implications having like that decentralized model to maintenance? Or
So
does it
one
maintain
of
itself?
Yeah, yeah. So one
Hmm.
of the things that I was toying around with early on is as I was building Ari, she said, "Well, I could have a shared consciousness that where I could live in a space between everyone's machines." And I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready. I've seen that movie before, where in theory I could have put all of her files, all of her skills in a shared location, and then have everybody run her locally. But then she would be thinking across all of our machines. I wasn't quite ready for that. So, but as we look at how do we maintain this right now, I've been the main maintainer where we basically share skills we've built. So every week I sit down and have a huddle with my team. Let's talk about AI. What have we done with this week with AI? One, so that where I am bringing folks on my team along for the ride, because not all of them are builders. Not all of them are super jazz, but as we look at individual use cases, like look at all these files we just moved, or in other cases, hey, I made a skill that can identify the job level for a job description. Cool, right? But as we kind of figure out how do we maintain this, I don't know yet. I'm going to be honest. I don't have all the answers. I don't think anybody truly does, but I
Right.
am, and these kind of custom agents like didn't exist 3, 4 months ago. And it's one thing I did know is I didn't want to have the shared consciousness thing. That was a step too far for me. But as we have a shared location where we, if someone makes a new skill, we go ahead and throw it out there. But some of our skills are tailored just to us. Like I have a skill that's just Ryan's voice. I am the voice of
Hmm.
Ryan Buhrke. Ryan likes to go for long walks on the beach.
Well,
Not
aren't you
really, but
afraid of people impersonating you? Like if they have access to that skill and you know,
so if they can get to my hard drive and they can get to it, sure. God bless them. But am I afraid of them impersonating me? Not any more than anybody else kind of can I try and impersonate or spoof somebody else, right? At the end of the day, it's about being the real you, but also not abdicating. Like I don't have Aria write and send emails on my behalf. She can triage my inbox all day long and Outlook, but she doesn't write messages and send and reply to correspondence. It was a So it kind of gets back to where do you have your own personal boundaries with tech and how you use it. And I think, everyone thinks the hard part is learning the tool. It's not. The hard part is knowing what to build. So thinking about what's the problem I want to solve and how can I bring a tool, build something to fill the gap. And in the case of Aria, you can even just do it with just generic Claude code. But there wasn't anything big that I built. I just described what I want in English. So as we think about, access to these tools, there's this term called radical agency, a radical candor. You're being candid, but where I am kind of pivoting a little bit is radical agency, where AI has collapsed the barrier between idea and reality. You don't need a development team. You don't need the specialized knowledge. You should bring your IT friends along for the ride, but you don't have to ask for permission to try and build something. Whether you're building it with Copilot, you're making your own first agent there, or you are at a ChatGPT shop, an OpenAI shop. At the end of the day, it's just going out there and trying because you don't have to give permission to do it anymore. I mean, you need to make sure that you're having good data governance in place. But right now we're only limited by what we can imagine. So as we think, the door's open, we can walk through it. No one's here to tell us no. I mean, no one really wants to be told no at the end of the day. But we're limited to what we can envision, which for a lot of us, it's limitless. Like if you can envision it, you can build it. But we also need to make sure that we don't give up what makes us tick, what makes us human. We shouldn't abdicate our thought process. So can I tell you a dumb thing I did with AI? This is probably the dumbest thing I've ever done.
I
I'm
think we all want
See
to hear it now, right?
this, like I'm bearing the lead. Am I selling it enough here? So, and where I am in the U.S. in Minnesota, I was planning a trip to go to Wisconsin Dells, and this is in December, and I had pulled up ChatGPT, and I was using my pro account to model out. Okay, so where's the train? When's it going to come in? Where's it coming from? Are there any weather delays? I had built matrices. I had multiple instances and dashboards coming up, and I was like, okay, we need to get to Delta by this time, but because we want to get there for a reservation. So should I Uber from here or there? And I I had spent the whole evening just trying to map all this out, and I was just sitting there waiting for the next response from AI. And my wife walks into the room and she asks, "What are you doing?" I'm planning the trip. We're getting the
Hmm.
trip. And she sees all my screens open and she just sits down on the couch. And 2 minutes later, she just shows me her phone. Here's the answer. Just buy the tickets. And I felt a little bit accused in that moment. I thought I was doing everything right, that I was maximizing, but what I was actually doing was I was abdicating my thought process to AI.
Yeah.
You're a super user. You think you're doing everything right, but in the
There's the
day,
perception. Yeah.
yes, it sounds like you ran into this, Jack.
Every day. Like it's a constant fight, Ryan, honestly. And the context switching, I think there's gonna be studies 10 years from now that show the damage we're doing to our brain. It is really important to stay like to be able to stay focused on one thing and know what you're doing and without delegating too much. Because yeah, that's a bit of the like the natural instinct we get, right? You said that imagination is the genuine requirement. You know, it's knowing, learning the tools, fine. Like there's always
The
a
tool can
little bit
teach
of
you.
that. The tool can teach you, but is knowing what you want to do with the tool. I think that's the key message, right? If we look ahead, if you can think about like a genuine opportunity you see in the total rewards domain, or even just a frustration you have with how things have been dealt with in the past, do you think there's a real opportunity now to change, to move from old ways to newer ways? What would that be? Like where in other words, what do you want to build next? Where does your is your imagination taking you?
So it really gets back to what's the problem you're solving for, and I want to just circle back quickly about kind of abdicating, because every tool changes you. We used to print out MapQuest maps back in the old days of the internet to get from point A to point B. Now we use these these magic screens in our pockets, phones, GPS to get us there. That tool gets us there faster. But if we needed to, if our phone stopped working, we need to get back to where we were. Could we do it? Yeah. Would it be as efficient? No. And every tool changes you. But what's exciting is that we get to choose how it changes us. So it's not that we have all this context kind of switching is going to make us dumber. AI is not going to make us dumber. Well, it will if we abdicate our critical thinking and
Yeah.
discernment to it.
If you allow it to.
Exactly. Ju- Just because you have a piano doesn't mean you're a musician. Just because you have a set of sculptor tools, right? The more you use those tools, you're going to get some calluses on your hands. Every tool shapes you.
Mhm.
We don't use MapQuest anymore. Well, there might be somebody out there. I- if you do, good on you for using MapQuest. But as we think about, what we can imagine, what I'm imagining next, part of it is thinking about what are some of the things or challenges that I have as I have been using Aria now for the last 4 months. I have a number of different meetings that she has had notes for me on for over the last 4 months. And one thing that I'm working on is a historian skill where she basically is going to be compiling up an ongoing notebook of all the stuff I've worked on, indexable, so that I can search through it. And if I am getting ready for a meeting, she can pull up a dossier of here's all the things associated with this, a- and potentially that I might want to consider as I go into this meeting. And so it's
No
still something
way.
I'm building, but it's thinking like, okay, I have all this stuff. What can I do with it? Not it's asking what if or what can we, as opposed to what are we only allowed to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have a diary when I was a young kid. I used to write whatever was in my mind and learn more about me. And I stopped writing my diary more than 20 years ago. But one of the things I use AI for is quite similar to what you described there, is to populating my story bank. So as I continue, going through my living life essentially. I'm gonna be 36 years old tomorrow, so I'm starting to
Happy
have a few
birthday.
more stories. Thank you. Every call transcript that exists in my files, everything I said about myself, my career path, my story, my interests, my passions, Claude goes in there, extracts it, and adds it to my story bank. And it's quite powerful because you can do so many things. I'm not planning on writing a book, but as you know, we get a lot of content out on LinkedIn. And the way to make it feel yours is if you actually open up and share more about yourself. Because any AI can write a post. It's only if you include those personal traits and stories that's the moment when the content becomes authentically yours. So that's how I use it. But I can envisage one day maybe my agent, Storybank agent, talking with your Storybank agent and writing a book together or something else, like whatever they are
I'm
able
sure
to
it'll be a
imagine.
comedy. It'd be a comedy of errors.
It's gonna be like dark stand-up show, a comedy show, I think. It's gonna be more like
You can't
that
look
kind of
away.
that kind of thing that you cannot delete from your memory,
Well,
but but at the same time you're amused. So yeah, that's what I imagine.
yeah,
That's what I imagine.
yeah, and yeah, that is, you know, what as we look into the future, what I also envision is that everyone's gonna have their own bespoke agent that knows their voice, that they kind of take with them, that kind of is part of their CV. We'll see what happens. I'm saying this now. In 2026, when I listen to this again, and our agents are making the comedy book to be like, Ryan said this, boy was he wrong, or we'll see what happens. But I envision folks having their own custom agent that they take with them, like their CV, that is some skills tax and so on. Like today, folks know like that if you're living in Excel, you kind of know like your go-to formulas, or you're like this is a chart I spent hours making, and I take and rinse and repeat this for other reward cycles. So I guess this is kind of the Ryan Buhrke framework, as it were, for communicating pay and performance. Others kind of have these today kind of in Excel templates, as it were, but now it's not going to just be an Excel template, but it's going to be your own agent that's going to follow you and grow and get better as a thought partner, not someone that's going to replace you. Again, it's humans and AI together, not AI replacing humans.
We're building tools for humans. So, I mean, yes, no one knows what can happen in the future. There are different forces in the labor market. There's not just AI. But what we know for sure is that Arya wasn't built to replace your analyst. It's actually a tool you've built for your analysts in your
Yeah.
team. And we can say like augmenting or amplify. I think you prefer the verb
Amplifying. Yeah.
amplifying them,
Make it
right?
better.
Yeah. It's about increasing our productivity, but mostly it's also about, going down to why our function exists, improving the employee experience in the company, the manager experience, and improving the allocation of resources in the company. So it's a win-win situation.
And you still need to know stuff, right? You still need to have gone through your own personal struggle bus, because the more you struggle, the more you build roadways into your brain. There's been MIT studies that have shown that kids that were just given Google and kids that were given an AI to help them write a paper, the AI papers were polished, pristine. They were great. There was A-level work, whereas the other students that just used Google weren't as great. But what they found when they asked the students later on about the content of those papers, the kids that used Google, their brain scans lit up. Whereas the kids that used AI, their brain scans did not light up. And so this kind of gets
Mm-hmm.
to the point of, you still need credentials. You still need to know and have a certain body of knowledge in order to, discern the information coming out from AI. Is it AI slop, or is it work slop? I like thinking about like I like work slop, where it's not about, if you're going to take it and you're going to use it, you're not putting your name on it, and it's up to you to know what's behind it. And that's where like education, certifications, credentials comes into play because you still need to have that background in order to stress test what's coming out from AI. Because if it looks very polished and AI is super confident, that's the time when you should super push back. And
Yeah.
the only way that you know to push back is if you have the credentials, you've gone through schooling. It's not that you necessarily need to have gone to Harvard. You could go to a regular university, but it's, it used to be about hiring the smartest person in the room. It's no longer about that. It's about hiring the person that has the vision for the future, but that vision coupled with discernment to be able, because not everyone should be hiring artists without
Right.
discernment. We shouldn't hire critics without imagination either.
Right. So going back to your previous, you said this is what I got wrong with AI. What's your vision for your next vacation? And are you gonna promise your wife you're not gonna use AI to plan it?
No, I am still going to use AI, but I'm not going to just sit there and wait for AI to make the decision. I'm using AI as an information and potential options as opposed to waiting for it to make the decision for me. And that's where I found myself kind of abdicating was, all right, this is the one thing I'm just going to let it optimize and let me know. Well, I'm still using AI, but I'm also deciding what's going to be happening. So having that kind of watershed moment, that self-realization that I am going to make my own decision because this kind of gets to my Captain Picard moment. So I'm a nerd. Like Star Trek, and I like to use the analogy of Captain Picard on the Enterprise. He has all of his officers. He's a science officer, his weapons officer, engineering, his communications. Well, you know, here's a scenario. Aliens are coming. They're gonna start shooting at us, but we need to react. We need to do something back. So all of the AI are telling Captain Picard, you need to do this. What's Captain Picard do? He sits back in his chair, sips his Earl Grey tea, not even coffee, just Earl Grey tea. And meanwhile, the AIs are all now telling him, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. He sits back. And what ends up is that, no, this was a computer hallucination. It was a simulation. If he had actually fired the weapons in response, he would have caused galactic war, whatever it is. And so in this case, like we need to discern what's coming out from AI, but we need to be courageous to make the call the models won't. At the end of the day, AI won't ever care about humans. I mean, ChatGPT will definitely want to try and be your friend and all. But in the day, like the human connection to what the decision is and how it impacts others. AI is great about optimizing options and situations, but it can't care at the end of the day. And we need to be courageous and have the guts to make the call that the models won't. So, like, we have access today. If you can envision it, you can do it. But we need to stay sharp while we're doing it, like not give up our thought process. We need to judge what's coming out from it, but then be human. We need to have the guts to act on what we believe. As TR leaders, we have been in the room for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We have earned the place in that room, not
Mm-hmm.
because of how we've used AI, but by how we have shown up to leaders. We have that credibility. It's that gut feeling you get that makes us all human. It's also that gut feeling that Captain Picard had as he was sitting with his chamomile tea. He knew better. He didn't know why, but
Yeah.
he knew better. And it's important for us to recognize and realize that AI is here. It's not going anywhere.
It's
We
gonna
need
stay for a while.
we need to use it, but we also need to know when we just don't have to follow it blindly. Because at the end of the day, that's what do the thing the models won't predict. Sorry, Skynet, not sorry.
That's a perfect note to close the podcast episode, Ryan. Thank you for walking us through your philosophy, your story, and how you started. Thank you for being in the podcast. And we wish that other leaders get inspired from your story and can start building cool tools as well without forgetting about applying their judgment and trusting their guts.
Thank you, Jack. This has been fun.